but this one is by far the funnest and most rewarding, and I think it's ending, tonight's the end, and I think it's ending on a really, really sweet note. So my name is Aaron. I do a magazine called Cometbus, and tonight it's going to be sort of an audio magazine. This is the intro. And I'm going to introduce two characters in the first piece. It's Thule and Shuli. One of the nice things about New York is it's filled with weirdos, and so you never feel like you're the last one. There's always someone older and someone weirder and someone freaking out a little bit more. You know, if you have that kind of panic attack that was mentioned in the wedding shop, there's always someone losing it a little bit more than you, which is a real luxury and one of the nice things about cities. So, if you would, put away your troubles and worries, and if possible, your phones, for just a few minutes, and be here with me. We got Thule, it's Thule Kupferberg. He sang and played, that's right, in one of the weirdest bands ever, the Fugs. They were disturbing, they were grating, they were sexy and funny. He also is important as a figure because he started the band when he was 40, so any of you who are under 40 and thinking it's a little late to start a band, that would not be the case. And frankly, even if you're over 40, it's really not too late. And I think it gets easier because the older you get, the less you are embarrassed, and the less you care what anyone thinks about you, which is why I'm here. It takes a while. It takes a while to shed off some of that. So Thule is also cool for a few other reasons. He was a champion of the underground press. He put out all sorts of small magazines and chapbooks and books over the course of 40 years. He also, in a suicide attempt, jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, landed in the water, and was just fine. But that embarrassed him so much that he spent his entire life trying to make up for it. However, there is two lines in the poem Howl by Allen Ginsberg that feature Thule. He's not named, but that's him. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to make a little cameo there. Shuli is Shulamith Firestone. She was a very important and cool second-wave feminist, another local Lower East Side person, and at times I would pass Thule and Shuli on the street. Shuli's coolest moment was her second act, and I'm always paying attention and looking at the second acts because I think that's exciting. But her second act was involuntary. She got locked up in a succession of mental wards, but how she played that was she wrote about it extremely eloquently in a book called Airless Spaces, which I highly recommend. Just a very short book. This one's called I Love the Freaks. I like the girls with bones in their hair, with baby dolls tied to the handlebars of their hoopty bikes. I like the guys dressed in skirts and rags like Thule, or Shuli, still angry and crazy after all her peers had settled down. I like the unrepentant weirdos who won't ever fit in, with makeup running down their faces and bad teeth. I'm sick of the compromises, the looking more normal every year, and paying someone to cut your hair. I'm sick of talk of last week's New Yorker piece, about your job, about the same books that everyone reads. I love the city, not the nightlife, but the real life, gritty and free. Cheap food and burning needs that can't be dismissed or ignored. I like the cats with 6 toes and the people who are way too much and still want more. I love the pain. I dig the Jews. I like the truth printed in the little magazines. I like the Cubans at the diner and the members at the co-op and going to visit my friends at the squats. Because I'm still proud of the underground and setting ourselves apart from everything we hate and walking around late at night downtown with you. I love the freaks. I love the freaks. I love the freaks. Thank you. We got an audience of freaks, and the cool thing is that over time, the lines blur, so you can talk about the punks or the hippies or other, things that were diminutive, like millennials. Just include them all the freaks. And one nice thing about New York isn't just the older freaks, but it turns out they're still making young ones. No, one of the great experiences for me is moving there. I think I was 35 when I moved there, and I befriended a whole generation of young punks who were 17 to 20, and all of them have just become the total weirdos. And one day on Yom Kippur, I was walking through Prospect Park, where they recently found a live alligator, 5 feet long, which was strange, but it turns out that they find one every year for the last 5 years. It's a true story. And in the middle of a field was a man with a little pig nose amp and a guitar, like standing tiptoe and looking at the sky and just playing guitar with so much bliss. And I always saw people like that growing up, but I walked up and said, "Dan?" And it was a young punk kid I knew. And he had just turned into a total weirdo standing in the middle of the field playing music by himself, and it made me so happy. Cometbus is about groups. When I was a wee lad and the magazine was also small, I wrote about the teenage punk bands in my hometown. It was scene reports, everyone getting together and trying to find a name and trying to write songs and express themselves. Over the years, the groups I focused on changed. There was an issue on children of hippies who moved back to the land in the early 70s. There was an issue on the cartoonists of New York. There's been a couple issues of the angry secondhand booksellers and their strange ways. So the groups have changed and are different, but the story arc is often the same. You have a couple loners, they feel outside, they feel not included, they're looking to find their voice and their place in the world, and lo and behold, they find each other, and they find a place, and they find a voice. And that's when it gets interesting, because then they start to fight, they start to battle, they betray each other, they fight for the same, romantic partners. So Cometbus is also about conflict. It's something that when it's happening to us, we're embarrassed by, it's painful, but when it happens to other people, it's actually the lubrication that keeps the gears moving and makes life exciting and interesting, and sometimes funny. So just keep that in mind with conflict. And also, the nice thing about conflict is you can often get through it with people, and when you do, it's a very strong bonding force. And the groups become families. And on that note, I want to thank Mickey, my Mandarin translator, who I just met tonight for the first time. She's been translating my last book. Now all we have to do is find a publisher in mainland China. A lot of